On the back of our cameras, here's some choices when you're shooting. Most cameras give you the option of shooting RAW plus JPEG, just RAW. And then it's talking about different amounts of compression for JPEG. Fine would be the biggest file or the less compression, more fine detail. Normal, more compression. Basic, more compression. So as the three of those goes, the file format at fine is larger, a little bit smaller with normal, and a little bit smaller with basic. So you can make that choice. These days, with the cost of cards and the capacities that are available for very, very little money, there's really no reason to shoot basic. At least shoot fine. And hopefully by the end of the class, you'll have your workflow worked out to the point where you can begin to start shooting raw and have the ability to make a lot more manipulation if you have to. All right. So the nice thing about RAW is it has more detail, more bits, more ways of talking about pixels. I'm not going to go into bit depth right now. I do that in the second semester class and why that's important. But trust that there's more information per pixel and it gives you a lot more room to adjust the image. There's no camera processing, so you do basically the interpolation yourself. Lots of options for adjustment, great control over exposure, color balance, and there used to be workflow issues. But with Lightroom now, you basically can't tell the difference if you're working with a RAW file or a JPEG file when you put it up in Lightroom. So it kind of has eliminated that. In Photoshop, you have to open up the RAW file and then open it up in Photoshop, so it's kind of a two-step process. So it wasn't a big deal, but if you're dealing with a lot of images, it could be kind of a pain. So, you can take a JPEG file and open it up in the RAW converter, which does a simulation of decoupling the color and luminance, taking away that interpolation, and giving you the ability to put it back together in a certain way. So that's another way that we can play with JPEG files and have a little bit more control. Certainly not to the extent that we can with a raw file itself. This is where we got to think about storage issues. You know, do you want to shoot RAW files, which are a little bit bigger? JPEG, we're a little smaller. Do we want to shoot JPEG plus RAW files? Just how much room do we have, right? And how big of our hard drives? Like camera cards, you know, face it. You can buy a 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 terabyte drive right now for a couple $100 and have probably more space than you'll need for the next couple of years. So, you know, it's less and less an issue with the price of storage coming down so rapid. We're going to talk about manipulation here in a little bit. I'll be giving a demo that you guys can look at, but there's all kinds of ways to manipulate your photographs. You all know that on your phone there's 1,000 apps that'll do stuff, right? Make them look a certain way. Filters that make them look a certain way. So there's all kinds of automatic stuff that happens on the phone. There's all kinds of apps on the phone that are beginning to give you a lot of control over the image. I know there's a Photoshop Lite. There's a Lightroom app for the phone, mobile, and then there's certainly hundreds of other ones if you go to the App Store. For the desktop, Photoshop Elements is a great one. It's really cheap. Pretty much you can do, or Adobe Elements, you can do anything you want to do, need to do for this class in Elements. You can buy that a la carte. Lightroom you can still buy a la carte. It's a little bit more of an investment in terms of how your workflow goes. It's got a lot more control and a lot more flexibility, and it's really targeted at the photographer. If you're thinking about continuing on in photography, if you're thinking about doing weddings, parties, commercial work, it requires a lot of images. Lightroom is an incredible tool. I know that when I was making those trips to Africa with a nonprofit, I'd come back with maybe 10,000 images from 2 weeks, and being able to sort those, go through them, do some light manipulation on hundreds of images at a time. Lightroom saved me hours as compared to doing the same work in Photoshop. But if you want to take one image and you want to do a composite and you want to do all kinds of cool, crazy post-visualization treatments to the image. You can't do that in Lightroom. Photoshop's your guy or your gal or your partner in that, because it can do all of that stuff. It's just really hard if you want to do that same thing to 50 images really fast. Right? So that's where it gets a little bit difficult. So I use Lightroom 99.9% of the time. I'm really bad in Photoshop. I use it for 2 or 3 things, but almost everything else I do, I use Lightroom. And in Lightroom, I have the Nik filter set, which is free right now, which you ought to all go and get. It's free from Google. You can do some really, really cool stuff. So with that combination, I can do almost everything, and a little bit in Photoshop now and then. Photoshop isn't available a la carte as an application. It's only available as subscription. I always say prescription. Subscription. So you have to buy at a monthly fee for Photoshop. You can buy Photoshop and Lightroom together. They have student pricing. They run specials, all that kind of stuff. But you're basically paying a monthly or yearly fee to use the application. You get all the upgrades for free with that and everything else, and so there's some benefits. But you have to be willing to sort of pay every month. I did some comparison price shopping, given I have the educator's discount, and it's kind of a wash. If I buy Photoshop and I want to keep it up to date with every single new version, I'll pay about the same as that I would pay by getting a yearly license. Right? So it's pretty close. You just pay a lot of times, or one larger price at the end. So think about that with Photoshop. But again, Lightroom is available as an off-the-shelf, a la carte, downloadable product. It's going to be hard to find on the Adobe site because they want to kind of hide that a little bit. But you can find it at some of the education software websites where you may get, Word and things like that. You'll find Lightroom as part of a download. And I think student price $99, something like that. And it gets revamped every year and a half or so, but you can go with a couple year old version and fine. Keep it a little bit longer until you find a great new feature that they have that you want to upgrade to. Okay. Output, when we go to save our images, different way of thinking if we're doing it for the web, print, or archive. Archive, we want to save everything because we never know what we're going to use it for. We don't want to throw away anything. Right? Print, we want to have at least, 200, 300 dots per inch, pixels per inch kind of thing. You can get less and be okay. But the printers aren't going to do more than 300, so if you have more than 300, it's a waste. The printer just throws it away. You can get down into the 150 or so and still make a good print. Okay. Web, of course, we know that for posting and things like that, they're small images anyway, so 1,000 pixels in the long dimension usually is fine for anything we're going to do. And then if you go to Facebook or Instagram, it makes them smaller than that after. So the only place you may be able to get a little bit more data in there is if you're doing something like Flickr or some photo-specific site that wants to optimize the quality of photographs at expense of space on their servers. But if you're talking about free things like Instagram and Facebook, they're going to try to make the files as small as possible so they can store as much as they can on the few servers as they can. Storage. This is a big one, you guys. What do you do with all these images? Back in the day when you shot film, you'd take all that film, put it in a shoebox, and put it in your attic and pull it down every 100 years and look at it, or something like that. If you take a hard drive and stick it in your attic for the next 20 or 30 years and pull it down and want to look what's on the hard drive, the connectors won't be the same. It won't run. It'll have sat up there and the bits would have rotted off. Something will happen. Not like a physical negative. So you need to be aware of how do you want to archive this data, and if it's worth archiving. I mean, a lot of it's not. There's probably, of the 100,000 pictures that I have, maybe, I don't know how many I have, maybe 100,000, maybe 200,000. Of all those pictures, there's probably 10 that are worth saving forever. The rest I could just throw away. I don't know what 10 they are. If I knew what 10 they are, this would be so easy, right? It may just be the family gathering, me and my nephew on a guy's trip, or the family in the backyard and the dog swimming in the pool. Those might be the 10 that I want to save forever, and not the bunch of rocks and dirt I shot at Death Valley and Yellowstone and Weston Beach and downtown San Jose and street photography and all that other stuff, right? Those aren't important images. Those are just fun. They're pretty and they're compositionally nice and people like to look at them, blah, 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 blah. But what are the really, really important images that you want to archive? So consequently, we archive everything because we don't know which are those 10. Okay? And possibly your music library is more important than your photo library. I know mine's probably worth more. If I was to put my music hard drive on eBay for sale and my photo hard drive on eBay for sale, I'd get 10 times the amount for my music than I would for my pictures. So there you go. Just so you know, what should you be archiving? Okay. Back in years ago, we'd use CDs or DVDs to archive things. And what did you buy? I bought the cheapest ones I could find. The oxide comes off. They're good for 20 years is really stretching it. I had some that only lasted 5 years. So you just never know with these CDs how long they're going to last. And then, right, you have 20 or 30 or 100 CDs with images on them, and you pull out, one of the CDs and it's bad. Kind of calls into question all of them, doesn't it? You got to go through and look at all of those and figure out. Biggest enemies, heat, scratches, stuff like that, for CDs and DVDs. This really isn't, logical to use this format anymore. Plus, you're only getting, 600, 650 megabytes per CD, which these days, that's nothing with the kind of camera files we have. Oops. Hard drives seem to be still very popular. The cloud's getting close, but it's still, the hard drives seem to still be the way that most people are archiving their images. And with the cost and the size of hard drives, you can have a dual backup. One you put in a safe, one you leave on your desktop, or somehow get it separated so that if your house burns down, there's still another copy somewhere, if you care about your pictures that much. Hard drives fail, and they fail quickly sometimes. I've had them fail in 2 years. I've had LaCie hard drives, which are a little bit on the higher end, right? Last for 2.5 years and die. I got some old cheap hard drives, that I don't even know the manufacturer. They've been going for 7 or 8 years now. They're going to die soon. They've been going strong. Right? So you just never know. When you think about a hard drive, remember you're talking about especially with hard drives we have, not flash memory, mind you. I'm talking about hard drives. You have this little disk spinning at 1 billion RPMs. You got this little teeny head that's going and sliding across this head, really super close to it, reading the data off it. And those tolerances are really tight. It doesn't take much to have that head go zoom and dig a hole in the actual hard drive media. Doesn't take much at all. Surprised they last as long as they do, especially in laptops. The way laptops get thrown around and beat up. So hard drives, they're cheap. They're fast for writing these days. Thunderbolt, USB 3.0, whatever you're using as a transfer port. But they're fast for saving and getting stuff back. Huge capacity for very little money, and they get cheaper every day. Right? Get a 4 terabyte for $100 today. In 2 weeks, it'll be advertised for $75. Okay? So it's going. The price is going down, 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 down very, very, very quickly for high capacity hard drives. So what else can you do? Right? You can go to an outside service, a cloud service. A friend of mine just got done uploading 8 terabytes of photographs to a cloud service that he's paying for. It's a large amount of data, but I think he was uploading for 9 months. His computer was sending pictures up to the cloud for 9 months to get that 5 terabyte, 8 terabyte amount of data up to the cloud. He just finished last week and sent me this message. I'm finally done. And I said, what, you've been saving it all this time? He goes, yeah. That's how long it takes to get everything up to the cloud. Now, it's not going to be that way all the time, but everything's up there now. Now it just automatically sends up any new stuff he gets. And it does it kind of in the background. So really, that's the answer. Have somebody else save this stuff for us and replicate it and make sure it's available. But, it's not going to be free. It'll be kind of free, cheaper, but it won't be free because somebody's got to pay for that. Amazon was doing some kind of deal for a while. A lot of people have, free uploads, but they only can be a certain size of file, So, and it's slow. They deter you by putting everything up because it's really takes a long time to get it up there. Flickr image sharing, that's a great place to archive things, right? It's probably going to be around. Your pictures are up there. They'll stay there. I know people that use Facebook. Just throw up hundreds of pictures on Facebook, and they just put them in folders, and their family can see them. Their friends can see them, right? And they're all up there publicly, and they're all up there in one place, and you can all go to look at your archive and look at all your pictures and not worry about if they get lost on your computer or they get deleted. Who cares? You got them up there on Facebook, and they're going to take care of them. Trust. SmugMug has a way of dealing with that, although you pay a little bit more for SmugMug, pay a little bit for Flickr too. And there's more every day that are popping up and with different schemes of how to monetize your storage. And there's all kinds of ways they monetize it. If they're charging you per gigabyte, that's one way. They could be sending you ads. They can be doing all kinds of other stuff, right, to help pay for what they're doing. But they just don't do it for free. Somebody doesn't buy a warehouse full of servers and say, give me your data, I'll take it, I'll take all your data, I'll take care of it, I'll replicate it in 3 different locations and make sure it's available to you anytime you want for the rest of your life for free. It's not for free. It may sound like it's free, but it's not. Okay, so just like anything else. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. All right, how valuable is your data? What do you save? Right? How much do you save? If we had that, like I said, if we knew what we were, what the valuable parts of our data was, this would be easy. There'd be 100 pictures, 10 pictures, 5 pictures. It would be saving to a cloud, to a hard drive, in multiple places, somewhere. But in fact, we don't know which those are. And I'm attached to a bunch of stuff like rocks and dirt. I'm attached to a bunch of stuff that has absolutely no value. Right? But I love those images, and I don't want to get rid of them. But nobody cares about them except me. When I die, nobody's going to be going, oh my God, we've discovered Brian Trey Montana photography. He's great. I'm going to sell his pictures for hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's not going to happen. It's just not. Right? Those days are way gone. Vivian Maier days are way gone. If you haven't seen that documentary, you should. It's a really good one, Finding Vivian Maier. Anyways, I've already been discovered, and they've decided they're not interested. So it's not going to be any big surprise when all my data gets flushed down the toilet at the end of my my time here on Earth. Okay, so that takes care of the module number 8. All the pieces. There's we skipped over a lot: archiving and file sizes and how to store files. But I just wanted to give you a little hint of some things to be thinking about, right? Because once we take the pictures, then we look at the pictures and maybe we goof around with them a little bit, and maybe we post a few of them. Then what do you do with that pile of data? What do you do with that pile of data once you've collected a lot? And it's better to start now, when maybe your photo file, isn't 8 terabytes. Maybe it's a couple of gigs, right? That's when you should be looking at what to do with it, not later on. The sooner you get a plan, right, the better off you're going to be for making sure that stuff gets archived properly. So the sooner you start, the better. And you may decide that you're going to start just throwing stuff away, and that's okay too. Right? Upload some stuff and throw the rest away, and it'll probably be fine. somehow we always want to hang on to this stuff. You know, we think it's gonna make us rich. Some it never does. All right, take care of yourself. Have a good week, and we'll talk soon.